मेरा इस गेम से यही बस दिक्कत है कि देख लो कितना नजदीक है। एक ऑप्शन होना चाहिए कि तुम यहाँ से ऐसे ब्रिज बना दो, ठीक है, और ये एक्सेस कर पाओ। इस गेम में अभी तक वो ऑप्शन नहीं है। तुम अगर ये चीज ले लेते ना, अगर ये हो पाता तो मैं दिखाता हूँ क्ले कितना नजदीक है। ये देखो क्ले डिपॉजिट। मैं क्या किया, शुरू में मैं देखा कि लोग तैर के या फिर ऐसे जा सकते हैं क्या। मैंने कहा कि ये स्टोन को हार्वेस्ट करो जाके, ठीक है। अब मैं सोच रहा हूँ मेरे लोग इस साइड काफी मर रहे थे। मतलब यहाँ पे देखो, यहाँ देखोगे तो आप एक बंदा मरा है, स्टोन गिरा के आया है से। अब बाद में समझ आया, मैं सोच रहा हूँ मेरे लोग इधर जा क्यों रहे, मतलब क्या हुआ, इधर मर क्यों रहे इतने। वहां तब पता चला मुझे वो स्टोन मैंने हार्वेस्ट के लिए डाला है। देन आई रियलाइज, पॉज करके बताता हूँ। मेरे बंदे ये पूरा ऐसे घूम के, ऐसे घूम के
आ रहे हैं।
यहाँ पे ये स्टोन हार्वेस्ट करने आ रहे हैं, और बीच में यहाँ पे अटैक हो रहा है, मर रहे हैं। मशरूम क्लस्टर
ब्रिज नहीं बना सकते इसमें?
ये अभी तक तो नहीं, अगर ऑप्शन शायद आगे हो, जैसे ये रोड्स है, अपन सिर्फ कॉबल रोड और प्लेन रोड, डर्ट रोड बना सकते हैं। अगर अभी ये गेम अर्ली एक्सेस में है, समझ रहे हो, फुल रिलीज नहीं हुआ है, तो मे बी उस वजह से अभी ना हो। अगर फ्यूचर में शायद ऐड करें, बट अभी तक तो नहीं है।
नाइस।
ज़्यादा देर ये सेटलमेंट अब चलेगा नहीं। मोस्ट प्रोबेबली अपन 1 साल और देखने वाले हैं। देख रहे हो ये घटता जा रहा है।
अच्छा।
उसके बाद नया स्टार्ट करने वाले अपन। देखो, फूड रिजर्व्स लो। अब दिक्कत वही है कि ये सब कुछ बनाने के लिए ये नीड क्ले, ठीक है, और क्ले बहुत दूर था। ये अभी मैंने एक्सप्लोर किया, यहाँ पे क्ले ढूंढा। आयरन गोल्ड ये सब तो बाद में भी आएगा, चलेगा, इतना ज़रूरी नहीं है, बट क्ले बहुत ज़रूरी है। क्ले का पास होना ज़्यादा ज़रूरी था। अगर यहाँ पे कहीं क्ले होता ना। शुड वी अपग्रेड द रोड? ये अपग्रेड क्यों नहीं हो रहा? अच्छा ऐसे होगा अपग्रेड।
अपग्रेड कैसे होगा मतलब? अच्छा, थोड़ी पक्की हो जाएगी सड़क, है ना?
पत्थर के रोड बनवा रहा हूँ, हाँ। यह है अपना स्मेली डिस्ट्रिक्ट। इसके आसपास लोग रहना नहीं चाहेंगे। हमने उसको बैरिकेड करके अलग रखा है। यहाँ पे स्टोरेज वगैरह है बीच में, इधर हाउसेस है। अगर तुम देखना चाहोगे डिजायरेबिलिटी, वो ऐसे देखते, ये देखो लाल जोन में नहीं रहने का। कि अब ये देख रहे हो, कंपोस्ट यार्ड है। फर्टिलिटी गेम फ्रीज हो गया।
नाइस।
थोड़ा वेट करना पड़ेगा।
अब ये स्क्रीन यहाँ पे तो चल रही है।
वो डिले है ना थोड़ा।
अच्छा, अब हुआ।
तुम डिस्कॉर्ड पे हो मेरे साथ, तुम जल्दी सुन रहे हो बट देख लेट रहे हो तुम, जो मैं तुम्हें दिखा रहा हूँ एक्चुअली।
हम्म। हो। क्या रे, आपका ये ऐसी गेम भी वो हो जाती है आपकी।
तो देखो, विलेज इज अंडर अटैक, रेड पड़ रहा है, रेडर्स आर अटैकिंग।
कहाँ पे?
इधर है।
कहाँ पे रीडर? अच्छा, ये भग रहे।
इसको बियर भगा रहा है, यही है रास्ते में। इसको भगा रहा है। कौन है? गार्ड। तुम क्यों भाग रहे हो? तुम्हारा काम है उनसे लड़ना। मार गई। नहीं आए थे रेड, उसमें से दो को अपन ने मार दिया, को चुरा नहीं पाए। ठीक है। यहाँ पे वुल्फ डेन है, देखो वुल्फ्स।
हम्म। ये जो काला काला रखा है, ये भी खोलेगा क्या?
हाँ, ये अनडिस्कवर्ड लैंड है। आज
हाँ।
जाना पड़ेगा, कोई एक जन स्काउट करेगा, पता चलेगा उधर क्या है। से ये भी स्काउट किया तब पता चला, अच्छा यहाँ पे एक क्ले डिपॉजिट है। बहुत मुश्किल से ढूंढा है, पूरा एरिया स्काउट किया तब जाके वो मिला।
हम्म।
ये वाला फ्लैग कोई लेने नहीं जा पाएगा।
क्यों?
यहाँ जाएगा जो भी, वुल्फ डेन है ना, मर जाएगा उधर।
तो इसमें सिपाही वगैरह भी आगे बनेंगे कोई?
यहाँ पे आयरन ना, अपने पास गार्ड सही, देखो गार्ड टावर है,
हम्म।
लुकआउट टावर।
हम्म। ऐसे लगता है मम्मा बुला रही है।
laborers, 4
हेलो.
builders. Welcome back.
हम्म.
Increase 1 hunter. Publican. We now have only 4 laborers and 4 construction workers. How is the desirability? 24, almost 26. Nice. Okay, this house has very less desirability. ये घर बहुत कुछ ज़्यादा ही क्लोज है रेड डिस्ट्रिक्ट से.
हेलो.
तो
ठीक है.
क्या हुआ?
कुछ नहीं, मार्केट जाना था. अभी देखता हूँ थोड़ी देर में. मन तो है नहीं मेरा.
हो आओ, क्या दिक्कत है? तुम्हें घूमने का शौक है ना?
मम्मी के साथ जाना है. हाथ पकड़ के मुँह भाई के लिए टी शर्ट लानी है. ये कोई घूमना हुआ?
के वी आर इन ईयर नंबर 14. अपन बहुत बहुत ज्यादा क्लोज चल रहे हैं अभी.
नंबर 14
बट
मतलब कैसे?
14th ईयर पे हम.
ओह.
सेटलमेंट स्टार्ट किए हुए 14 साल हो गए.
ओह.
अपना ग्रेवयार्ड है. तो 14 साल में सिर्फ 11 लोग मरे हैं.
अच्छा जी.
देख रहे हो?
हम्म.
We need to upgrade these houses, man. Almost 24% desirability, 30% होगा तो ये अपग्रेड हो जाएगा. Building is on fire. तो हमने यहाँ पे देखो ये लगाया
हाँ.
ऑर्चर्ड.
एक सेकेंड.
Can have more food production. This is gold mine.
डेनिस भाई PMWI का स्टेज देख रहा हूँ, इतना गजब लग रहा है ना।
हो गए गजब।
पैसा जो खर्च करते हैं भाई। एक टाइप से वर्ल्ड कप है, सारी एक एक देशों की टीम है।
Coal mine. Do we have coal? We don't. अपने को इतना आयरन माइन एक्चुअली चाहिए नहीं था। अपने को एक मैप में एक जगह पे अगर आयरन माइन मिल जाता है ना, एक या दो जगह पे भी चलेगा, बट क्ले ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है।
Hello and welcome to Gamers 8 and welcome to our fifth and final title of our event, PUBG Mobile. My name is Banks and I am your host and I am joined on the main stage by my co-host Fancy.
حياكم الله من جديد أعزائنا المشاهدين والحضور
I
في
thought
البطولة
बड़ा
الأخيرة
बिल्डिंग
معنا
होगा,
في
पूरा
حدث
जगह लेगा।
البطولة الأخيرة معنا في حدث
छोटे छोटे 3 बिल्डिंग
معنا
हो
في
गए एक ही जगह पे, रोड के बगल में।
Weeks, and this week we're going to have our main tournament, and then next week we have something very special for you at home that we're calling the After Party Showdown.
راح نشوف إن شاء الله هاليوم أول أيام PUBG Mobile World Invitational.
यहाँ पे फार्म्स बना सकते हैं अपन चाहे तो, वही है, बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा दूर हो जाएगा।
हेलो डेनिस भाई।
हाँ
मैं तो चलता हूँ, घर में कोई आया रिलेटिव।
चलो ठीक है,
बाय बाय बाय
बाय बाय।
$. بتكون متوزعة ما بين الأسبوع الأول والأسبوع الثاني في أشياء كثيرة ممكن نتكلم عنها، في تفاصيل كثيرة ممكن نتطرق لها، لكن قبل كذا خلونا على طول أعزائنا المشاهدين والحضور نتوجه للاستوديو التحليلي نتكلم عن المباراة أكثر ونشوف ايش اللي ممكن نواجهه اليوم.
Thank you so much, Banks and Fancy, for that. It was a great introduction, and it's going to be a great tournament, not only this week, but of course next week as well. I'm 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗡, I'm your host here, and I cannot do this show alone no matter how hard I try, and I feel like I said that a million times, but it is always true. We have Maxman here joining me, and 𝗗𝗢𝗡 on the very end. Gentlemen, it's been a long time since we've seen each other in person. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. It feels really good to be back here. Not only us together on the desk, but also we've got the players here, finally able to play in the offline event. So I'm really hyped to see how things are going to pan out.
Yeah, exciting. I think ultimately there's some different dynamics coming into this tournament as well to figure out how all these teams are going to stack up against one another. It kind of feels me like a World Cup almost here for the World Invitational, so I'm excited for it.
There's so many different things, as you mentioned, so many different reasons why this is extra special. We'll get to that in just a second, actually, as we take a look at the format of the entire tournament. Now, normally, when we're doing these PUBG Mobile events, we have 16 teams. Whenever we have more than 16 teams, it's like, okay, well, we'll have groups, and we'll play out groups. Some groups come in, some groups come out. But you know what here? Ladies and gentlemen, 18 teams are playing at the exact same time. And Max, we know that's going to change the strategies out of every single team.
Yeah, the first time I saw this, I was like, is that a typo? No, we actually have 18 teams in the lobby this time, and that's going to change so many dynamics. We'll have time to talk about that more in depth, but like drop locations, rotations too, how much space is available in the circles. Everything is changing for this event, and hopefully hopefully the teams have done their homework to prepare for this.
Teams are going to feel the squeeze on both drops as well as those rotations, which is very important to kind of break down here as the tournament goes on. I think ultimately, though, it's going to test a lot of the teams' potential for adapting to other teams around them here as they continue on the tournament.
And we've kind of been like theorizing what could happen. And typically when you look towards the very late game, if you have a full squad up, you're most likely going to win the match, right? But we're not really expecting many squads to ever have 4 players left alive when we get to the very end. Yeah.
There's a potential of that. I mean, you could potentially lose people on rotation. You could actually have more infighting in certain compounds, etc. Splits are going to be harder to execute as well because you're just going to have a few more people in the vicinity looking at you as you're even trying to transition to some of those compounds. So it's going to be very exciting to see how they solve the puzzle on the battleground to deal with all of the teams near them.
And also it's very interesting, I had the chance to talk with a few of the players, the coaches too. A lot of them are going to be very stubborn, like they do not want to give their drop location away.
Surprise, surprise.
We are going to have quite a few happening, hopefully. Here.
Well, you know what? That's dangerous, right? It's 3 days. We have 18 matches in total. Like, it's not like you have a lot of time to adapt. It's not like you have a lot of time to make mistakes and make up for it. As we can see here, 3 days of action with 11th, 12th, and 13th. The after party, we could talk a little bit about it. I'm actually super excited for this as well because not only are we changing like the format a bit, the prize works a bit, but we also have some new teams coming in.
Yeah, we're going to have some big teams like, your Bigatron, Redalians are going to be coming into the mix. So I'm really happy to see how they're going to be performing in particular. And also the team I'm going to be keeping my eye out for in that event is going to be RAT Sport. That has had some up and downs recently in like when it comes to Arabia. But I think that in this event, it would be great to see how they can perform. So really intrigued to see how it's going to pan out.
It's going to be exciting as well. 5 teams, of course, from this event going to be joining.
And utter chaos, I think is fair to say, when you look at that after-show party. When you look at how things shape up, 6 different maps, different ways to be able to earn some prize pool as well. Exciting.
Well, you can see here the point system. If you guys watched any PUBG Mobile in the last, let's just say like 2.5 years now, it's pretty much exactly the same. 15 points for a chicken dinner, but of course at the very bottom, 1 elimination will equal 1 point. And considering we have now 8 extra players playing every single match, that's 8 extra elimination points that you could see yourself getting.
Yeah, actually, I think the elimination is going to be part of the strategy of a lot of the teams that like to play aggressive. So we'll see how it's going to pan out. But if you want to go aggressive, there's definitely one award you could be aiming for, which is Gunslinger. So it's a little bit different from your top fragger award this time around. Gunslinger is going to be calculating your top damage and also your total eliminations. And then you have another award, which is Eagle Eye, which does the average of your top 2 longest shots in the game registered that gets a knock or an elimination. So 2 new awards are pretty intriguing here.
I like that it takes into account 2 long eliminations as well, because ultimately there are moments where somebody's like firing far into the distance, and they might get themselves a few lucky shots here and there, but it's going to reward some consistency in those kind of long fights with your DMRs, etc.
I'm a little sad to not see like roadkill specialist or something like that, because we had Salazar, thinking back to PMPL. I mean, he's pretty giving the money now, right? If you think back to it, you see, of course, all the social medias you guys can check us out on. Make sure you guys keep this in mind as well, because later on I'll tell you some ways you guys can actually earn some prizes at home. But it's gonna be an extremely exciting event, and I really can't wait to see what's gonna happen. We'll be getting into the teams in just a few minutes here, but let's learn a little bit more about the teams though before we do dive into talking about them all.
Give it your everything, it ain't no holding back. Time to be the one, best squad, that's a fact. Nobody can stop me when I get in my zone. Take it higher, go from unknown to world known. On another level, competition is in trouble. Putting numbers on the board and it's about to double. We can never fold, we can never break. To be the greatest, we will do whatever it takes. legendary, feeling like it's my moment. No slowing down now, we can move forward. We got the passion and drive, we stay working. An undeniable team, we on the circle. Bring the fire like a dragon, hunger and the passion. Making history, our energy is everlasting. We're staying on top, team so supreme. Making big moves the world has never seen.
We never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. We never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Never fall back. We never fall back. Hold our ground where we at. Yeah. No lies or facts. You can find me right where I'm at. We never fall back. We never fall back.
Man, if this doesn't get you guys hyped for what's going to be coming up in these next 2 weeks, I don't know what will. Fantastic song, and as well as some fantastic teams going to be participating here in these 2 weeks. But guys, let's take a look at our schedule, right? Let's get an idea of what's going to be happening today, what maps we'll be going to, and of course, in what order. And man, I'm happy to not see us ending up on Sandhawk.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it before anyone else does.
Just had to get rid of it right away. I'm sad we're not seeing Vikendi at all. But hey, the after party, well,
You'll get a little bit.
We'll get a little snippet of it, but you know it's going to be interesting. 3 Wrangles are going to be also having your 2 Miramars, 1 Sanhok. Unfortunately for Nigma Galaxy and TJB, not as much love they can do, but they can try and get a few points here.
I like that Erangel's the full focus.
All right, we're going to head over to James Yang, the director of PUBG Mobile Esports, here on the stage.
I would like to say personally how incredible it is to talk to you all in person. It's too far long, as we all know. I'm here today to share the to talk to you all in person. It's too far long, as we all know. I'm here today to share the Okay, firstly, I'm happy to announce that the 2022 PMGC Grand Finals will be a major offline event in Indonesia in January. PMGC League will begin in early November, and it will run for 4 weeks to determine the teams heading to Indonesia to battle for the crown as the best PUBG Mobile team in the world. An incredible 48 teams, the best of best teams from each region, qualified through the year. The most to ever in our offline event will join to PMGC League. The top 13 teams will take their place in Grand Finals with 3 direct invites. As well as PMWI, Sony's Xperia will be the official smartphone partner for 2022 PMGC, ensuring all players are able to perform at the highest level on the biggest stage. And that's not all yet. I'm excited to talk to you about a new competition, PUBG Mobile Regional Clash, beginning next month. The PMRC is focusing on pitting different regions against each other, beginning with PMPL's Southeast Asia versus PEL. You never want to miss it, so please follow us from September 22nd to 25th. Okay, it's a time to go back to enjoy PMWI. On the circle, Thank you.
ओके अब हल्का फुल्का पीएमजीसी को पनि हिन्ट भइसकेको छ 48 रिजनल टिम्स भनिएको छ भनेपछि हामी अब यो एज्युम गर्न सकिन्छ 24 टिम इस्टमा खेल्छ 24 टिम वेस्टमा खेल्छ
To talk to you all in person, it's too far long, as we all know. I'm here today to share the
أفضل ما يملك كل فريق وكل لاعب بالضبط.
الشباب راح يقلبونها دراسة صراحة متحمسين أكثر فأكثر على هالثلاث أيام اللي راح تكون صعبة جدا، لكن خلينا نتكلم أكثر استراتيجيا وتكتيكيا مع الفرق اللي موجودة معنا. ستار في الماو 18 فريق داخل لوبي واحد، فشيء صدق حكيناه بداية اللقاء، لكن نبغى نتكلم أكثر فأكثر عن هالموضوع.
شوف من ناحيه سان هوك الخريطه فعلا ما تتحملش اصلا 16 فريق، تخيل 18 فريق يكون صعب جدا الموضوع عليهم. بالنسبه مثلا لخريطه ميرامار فوارد جدا نشوف فيه برضه كلاش دروب، متوقع نشوف فيه منطقه البوزو وكلاش دروب بالذات. نجمه جالاكسي مع تيم دي دبليو جي، المفروض كمان فريق الدونتس الياباني بينزل كمان البوزو، لكن ممكن يغير نزلته، بس بيضل وارد جدا يكون فيه كلاش
بعد
دروب.
الاعلان بي ام جي سي اتوقع في راح تنازلات،
لازم يكون في حذر من الكل، ولكن الفكره كلها ان حتى كلامي مع كل الفرق ولا واحد محضر للثاني، بمعنى انه اول مره يختلطوا ببعض، عمرهم ما تواجهوا بعض قبل كده، فكل واحد ممكن حضره تاني بناء على الريجن اللي هو فيه. وضع صعب جدا.
يعطيكم العافيه ماو وستارفل. خلونا ننتقل اعزائي المشاهدين والحضور للاصوات اللي راح تكون معنا في بدايه اول جوله، اللي هم الكاستر كودي وهنكي منورين الرياض، ومتعونا واستمتعوا بهذا الحدث العظيم المقدم من ببجي موبايل.
شكرا لك يا تركي على الاستضافه الجميله اكيد في الرياض، وهذا الحدث الكبير البي ام دبليو اي اللي بترجع بحله يعني ولا اجمل. نشوفه اوف لاين، نشوفه بالرياض في البوليفارد. نتمنى تكونوا معنا في هاي الثلاث ايام المين ايفنت، ونشوفكم حتى بالاسبوع الجاي بالافتر بارتي. ولكن المين ايفنت 2 مليون دولار، تكسيب الجوائز الفرديه والتغطيه بالبدايه راح تكون ان شاء الله عندي وعند هنكي. يسعد مساك هنكي.
مساك اسعد. صراحه متحمسين لهذا الجوله الاولى، خصوصا انه ايش متحمسين لشيء واحد، انه بطل بي ام دبليو اي راح يكون عنده دعوه بي ام جي سي. هذا الشيء الكبير والحدث الكبير، غير البرايز بول راح نتكلم عنه 3 مليون دولار، يعني عدد كبير. وغير كذا عندك دعوه بي ام جي سي راح تكون في اندونيسيا متواجد هناك. فاكيد جماعه الخير اللي راح يضيع على نفسه انه ما يكون حاضر معانا في هذه البطوله راح تروح عليك متعه كبيره جدا بعد ما صار هذا الاعلان اللي الان سبب انك تكون موجود اكيد 100%، انك تبغى تشوف البطل اللي راح يكون معاه الدعوه. كودي متحمسين، والحماس اتوقع قاعد نشوفه امام اللاعبين اللي قاعد يجهزون للوبي.
يعني التجربه نفسها من ناحيه وجود الفرق، واللي اشار له مصطفى صراحه بكلامه
chicken dinners in a PMPL across the world. This team is amazing, and they should be looked at as one of the favorites.
Yeah, and in a very similar grain to Stalwart, they are a team that has stuck together for, I think, almost 700 days now. The roster has stuck together, never changed, which is very impressive to see. And also they're playing locally, right? They are a local team. They won PMPL Arabia in the spring season. A little bit too close on the full season, unfortunately. But having fans present for this offline event, it doesn't happen too often for PUBG Mobile. We'll see if the offline buff is going to really work out for them.
The region has strong teams for sure. Enigma Galaxy has to be one of them. I think one thing that goes against them a little bit is that we only have one Sandhawk per day. They are decent there. They're playing the averages, is fair to say, when it comes to a game, a battleground like Sandhawk. But beyond that as well, we've seen good compound control from them when we've been kind of covering them. They've continued that throughout the months. So impressive stuff from them to continue on into this tournament.
So I want to bring up a question to you guys. I know you have more teams you want to talk about, but I feel like a general consensus I've seen from a lot of these teams going into this event was they did either really, really bad in the league stage, and then they did well in the finals. They did well in the league stage, and they did well in the finals. They carried it over. But a lot of the teams struggled when it came to those regional playoffs, right? Those regional championships. A lot of teams just weren't really able to live up to what they did in their own region. And when you're playing at an international event at a global scale like this, I'm kind of worried for those teams.
Yeah, I think that's the lack of international experience that a lot of these teams have, unfortunately, heading into this. So this first day is going to be rough for some of these squads, right? They're going to have to deal with it the hard way. It's going to be like trial and error for a lot of these guys, see how the drop goes, how the rotation goes, and I think that after this first day, after the first game of each map, things will start to settle in a little bit more, but it is a lot of unknown heading into now.
It's definitely a feel-out day, right?
Yeah.
That's fair to say. We have seen these guys have a few test games here and there to try and feel out the drops, as you're saying. But even as we've studied these teams' drops, where they're going, sometimes in their own regions, they've had their preferred drop, but then had to move away. Here, we're going to see some of that again. We're going to see teams like, I mean, Regnam, I can't even do it.
Gaming.
I can't hear myself. Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, we can.
Apparently, yeah. I mean, for example, their Yasnaya split that they were doing with 2 and south of Kameshki, as well as Yasnaya. You have to tighten that up in this kind of lobby here because there's a more threats actually looming on the edges of your drop. So even from the word go in these games, you got to be very, very careful about how you're feeling at the other teams.
I mean, for teams who haven't played on a national level, like you think of 𝗕𝗕𝗢𝗓, I know we talked about this actually quite a bit before the event. They've not really played a LAN. They've not really played a global event. I mean, you're kind of hitting two big things all in one. Like, realistically, what can you expect from a team like this? I mean, obviously, Brazil has high hopes for them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's all about the preparation going into the event, you know, your scrims. And I also know that a lot of teams have picked up a coach pretty much last minute, but that can have a pretty drastic impact on your team and how you approach and visualize the game, right? I think that can have a pretty big impact. Like talking about 𝗕𝗕𝗢𝗓, they qualified above teams like Influence Rage, Alpha7, which is even Loops, which is very, very impressive. So I've had the chance to cast them a little bit over in the Western tournaments and like Americas. I think they have the chops to do well on an international event. Unfortunately, we'll have to see how it's going to go because we've never seen it before, but I think there's a chance that 𝗕𝗕𝗢𝗓 could be like a dark horse almost heading into this.
Okay. Actually, 𝗗𝗓𝗓, do you have a dark horse that you're looking at?
I mean, it's kind of up and down. I guess I would have to pick a team like Morph. They come from a great region. I did expect other teams to qualify from that region, like RRQ, for example. But they showed that they're able to hang with the top teams there. So maybe they can make something happen in this lobby, even though I'm favoring the big dogs overall.
Okay, yeah, and considering, we have 18 matches, right? And you're talking about like getting accustomed to the lobbies, you don't have time. And we have actually seen, like you mentioned before, a lot of coaches coming in, a lot of really well-known coaches, some maybe on Nova X Quest F, the ones who have been able to take home PMGC. Like, how much can a coach realistically offer you when you only had, I guess, maybe a little bit of lead up into the event, but you only have 3 days of play? It's really hard to make drastic changes to how the lobbies play out.
I mean, in terms of gameplay, of course, you've got a lot of research and work that's been done in the background. I think it's mostly getting the players and the teams in the mentality, because a lot of the coaches that have been picked up by these teams have that LAN experience. They know how it works out. Then now the teams adapt to it. And I think just telling them how it's going to happen and how it's going to go down is really good for the mental state. Like, they seem more prepared heading into this.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be getting into our first match shortly here, but I want to give a shout-out here to Sony with the Play to Win with Xperia 1 IV, created in collaboration with professional esports players, so you know it's going to be good. The Sony's Xperia is the official smartphone provider and partner here of PUBG Mobile. But as you saw before on the schedule, we do have Erangel coming up here in just a few moments to kick things off this event. High fives going out, at least air high fives as well here. But it's time to bring in our commentators, maybe have a little chat with them before the match kicks off here. We got John, Allen, and Blank joining me here on the desk. Gentlemen, this is going to be crazy. It's going to be exciting. Maybe you have some teams you want to point out. I'll leave the floor open to you.
Thank you very much, Jason. Yeah, we're going to be getting into this first game. Blank, there's a lot of teams here with a lot on the line.
There is, yeah, and Jason was asking, you know, is there any other teams that maybe we're looking at? I think there's one team that maybe the guys on the desk haven't mentioned yet that I'd love to talk about, and that is actually Vampire Esports. I do think that this team currently looks extremely good as a team overall. You know, they've been through a lot of different iterations of Victim Sovers at the start of the year into Victim 365, then Ion Esports in their qualifier for the Spring 22 finals, and now finally coming through you know, now as Vampire Esports. So, oh no, they were Power AAA right at the beginning. Sorry, that's Morph GG I'm talking about. But they've gone through a lot of iterations. They have now 𝗕𝗢𝗡𝗓 on the team, who used to be on Power AAA when they had some of their better games. He's coaching, so they're talking about coaching on the desk as well. This could be a great position for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be looking pretty strong for them right now. Everyone loading up into the game. I think we got the plane path of the first game maybe loading on up here. Blank as well. You can see the players in the lobby. Look at that. They're running around. They're trying to get everything sorted. Those furtive glances over the shoulder there. Something going on.
Yeah, no, just trying to get people into the match, and already we are having things kicked off here in the PMWI, this regional clash between so many different players from so many different countries here. It's great to see the representation. There's no problems either because everyone's playing here at LAN.
Game number 1 loading on up. Erangel as we kick things off here. Players loading on, the plane path moving over as it fades into the map. Loading on up. Match number 1. It all starts now. The helicopters flank the plane.
Helicopters coming out of this one next to plane here. We are having our plane path already. We did get a little quick sneak peek at this plane path at the beginning of the game, heading just under Novo up towards 𝗗𝗢𝗢. Now this is a fantastic little drop spot already for 𝗗𝗢𝗡. I'd imagine they're going to be dropping out the plane here, but it's 𝗏𝗏𝗏 jumping out almost immediately, heading up possibly towards 𝗏𝗏𝗏. That's a drop spot that they've been loving recently. 𝗏𝗏𝗏, on the other hand, quite inaccessible, and that was going to be quite the big hot drop for a lot of teams like Donuts heading up there, a few other teams on that location with 𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Kia just underneath them in School and Apps, but you can see that 𝗏𝗏𝗏 already immediately in Novorobnoye. Sometimes they will head towards North Sosnovka, but this is their preferred drop, and this is great for an 18-man lobby, John.
Yeah, and then Wildcats as well over on that military base, joining them on that South Island. Those northern crossings may be a little bit more populated, do you think, after those bridges with this plane path as south as it is. Some teams will try and migrate north, sure, but that traffic jam will certainly have an impact.
Yeah, you're just trying to cover as much of the map as possible. You know, James, Max, Jason on the desk, all talking about this beforehand, saying that, you know, there is going to be a lot of space on the map that you're going to have to cover. Not so many scouting positions now can be taken for these teams, just in the early game at least, just in case you get caught off guard by a team that's in the vicinity that you maybe wouldn't think would be there before. Though we do have Vampire Esports, they are doing their usual drop down towards Ferry Pier, Quarry and Primorsk, really taking things wide at the beginning of this game.
Yeah, a little bit of a late dropout, sure, but it was fairly close by to the plane path, right? So they will have plenty of time to be able to navigate and get things sorted for themselves moving forwards on their northerly movements that will have to come through as the circle pops. It looks like Falcon already in competition with Morph. The top of the hill currently occupied by Morph.
Yeah, it's going to be quite difficult here for Morph to actually... well, it's very easy for Morph to pick up on this one because Falcon's drop is a little bit further up towards Yaz, honestly. So Morph drop out early, get the catch on Falcons. Already taken one player from alone down here. Does get res back up into the fight, though. So not quite elimination coming through just yet. But Donuts USG actually currently have 2 points already.
Yeah, they're starting to pop off. I mean, looks like they've managed to find themselves a little bit of a spot. Falcons, as we were talking about, rezzed up in a little bit of cover. Presence known, though, between those two teams on that split area. Never alone. Has his team. Yep. Seems to play to the name. But look at this. You've got Box Gaming with some trouble.
Yeah, Box dropping right on the coastal side, and it's VGS trying to pass by them in vehicles. Now, VGS have 2 spots. It's up towards Severny as their secondary, Lipovka as their primary. Not able to get to any of them. So this is so awkward, but this is now time for Box to try and show some dominance. They regrouped around Break and SOAS after their decent PMGC. I think it was World League. Now they really need to show their stuff here after losing a couple of players and reforming.
Nearly perfect nade there coming through from Break, but doesn't quite get the knock. They will have got that hit marker, that indication that there's a player close. They know there's a vehicle moved. Will they still know that there's a player this close? Mini 14 with the 4X on the off angle for VGS. Should be pretty solid at holding down this ridgeline, but if 3 players from Box go down, it's going to be tough. Around the side, though, gives away the position, and it's an easy spray down for Box Gaming to pick up their first elimination of the game.
That's a really sick just run around there from the team. Very fantastic stuff overall. VGS just crumbling. Obviously not able to get either of their drum spots in this game. And they just fumble for it. And this is what the 18-team lobby does to you. You know, you try and head to a spot that you think may be free, but it's just not.
Still bleeding out VGS down to 2. They will be taken on out. Donuts They were contesting as well. 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗡𝗢 taking early losses. These are the 2 points that you were pointing out earlier.
Yep. Yeah, that is rough there. But USG, honestly, this is a team that really wanted to take Rozhok. You know, in all the practice games we see them play before this, they have always gone Rozhok here. Just looking at anything on my drops in terms of statistics, you know, 4 Rivals was the other team that was going to head over here. But in fact, you know, 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗡𝗢 tried to challenge out. Usually they're the Pachinki team, so maybe they dropped just slightly short. USG had to go a little bit further. And just on the way, they picked up a couple of points.
You love to see it.
Yeah.
Certainly if you're a USG fan. Falcon, 4 players in a vehicle. Not advisable. They're heading towards Yasnaya Polyana as well, which is currently occupied by Morph. On this northern rotation, they are behind the game. Morph on the western side of Yasnaya right now. They will be holding down a lot of those buildings, a lot of those compounds. Hopefully they're going to spot the Falcons' approach, right? It's a very open field. If you're looking that way, you will be seeing them. They're only in 1 vehicle as well, which means that if you're taking some pot shots, you might even be able to get a couple of eliminations there.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a real chance for it. Now, VGS, you know, broken and battered, heading up still past 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗡𝗢, who've still gone for that Apps school split. It's a little tighter this time, though, and I respect that from 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗢. James on the desk was talking about, you know, how really they wanted to keep things survival-based. Get towards the end of the game. It's not about huge eliminations, just consistently putting up those placement points. Now, that's going to give you a good average point over in the PMWI, but 3 days, you do need to strike out a little bit. Donuts USG getting these initial 2 points and also claiming Rozhok straight away. This is fantastic for them. And Donuts USG, they've come out on top in Japan at the moment. Even in the PUBG Mobile showdown between Korea and Japan, they were a full 10 points ahead of anyone else in that lobby right at the top. So really fantastic stuff from Donuts USG so far.
Hopefully spinning around, turning their opponents' heads whenever they can. Morph, I think they have spotted Falcons. Falcons, you can see, still with a little bit of damage on board. That might have been from earlier, probably still healing that one up. Never Alone was the player who was already knocked by the enemy team. I don't know if it was Morph, actually. I have to go back and watch that again. But Falcons did get knocked. Oh, it was Morph from up the hill. That was the first engagement that they had. So they did already do a little bit of damage. It looks like they will not leave each other alone for now. VGS down to 2 players. They've spotted back-to-back on the ridge line. It looks like, yeah, back-to-back just want to take up position.
Yeah.
And see whatever vantage points they can try and claim.
This is fairly interesting as well because Regan's trying to head in the direction of Morph. These are 2 teams that drop in Yasnaya. Regan's with a Yasnaya South Kameshki split, but Falcon's trying to take up this position as well over in Yasnaya. So a lot of contention on this eastern side of the map. I know that, you know, 52 Esports, they've tried to take Stalba and then South Yasnaya as well before, but right now they're right on the western coast at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they've changed it up. I mean, to be fair, there have to be some changes, right? In this lobby, it's a new mode that these teams won't have played with 18 teams in it, right? It is seemingly a small difference, but it absolutely will have an impact, as the desk covered previously. So we'll have to see what impact that actually has, because right now, we haven't seen much more than 1 or 2 hot drops, right?
Well, what I will say, you know, is that people have been very stubborn on their drop spots. And even just from the small research that I was able to do, I say small, no, modest, small research they were able to do about their drop spots beforehand in this tournament, you know, a lot of these teams have gone for these drop spots regardless of how south that playing path was. So, you know, we could have this gentleman's agreement going on from a lot of these teams. It's like, these are our spots, we can't go away from them. So secondary spots just really aren't too available anymore. And for that reason, if you get a really, really bad playing path, you could be in for a very bad game.
The playing path on this one was very south, and the circle did shift up north. And I'm looking at the teams that have made that journey north early, and I'm looking at 4 Rivals, right? All the way up in Severny. Right at the top of this circle now, playing from their northern bastion. Stalwart Esports on the southeast of the circle, just about crossing in. One of the favorites of this tournament right now, Blank.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't have too many notes on this team just because they play things so clean, and there's only so many ways you can write clean. to be honest with you. So I was very, very impressed with 𝗗𝗢𝗡. I think so is the desk. You know, they're set for a fantastic PMWI, but we could see some rising stars, some rising countries just come out of nowhere and blast them out of the water. But we'll have to wait and see here. But for 𝗗𝗢𝗡, so far things have been very good. I really do like this Novo drop for them in the beginning here. The edge of the map with 18 teams, it's going to be rough. There's not a lot of positions to play in, and with the loot that you get on board from Novo, with the 6 to 7 med kits that we saw already on just one of their players, you know, they'll be able to outlast that Storm on the edge.
You'd hope so, with the caliber of teams that we're dealing with anyway. Although that works to their detriment as well, doesn't it? I mean, they have to face off against this super high caliber lobby. It's not going to be easy. 𝗏𝗏𝗏, take up the gas station. It's out to the west of 𝗗𝗎𝗓 Polyana. And Morph looking their way.
Yeah, so Morph just on that western road, right, with Aton just underneath them. And 𝗗𝗎𝗓, for Morph, that being their original spot, they've actually moved west here towards that northern coast. So, you know, they're just looking out for any cheeky teams that try and hold on this north coast. And it's a great idea as well, because it's a very easy position to corner and cause mayhem from many teams, because you don't really want to cluster around this southern edge. There's so much space up towards Severny, especially with that southern playing path. This is a great position to, you know, take up and just chill out, take some time for yourself, especially if you dropped in South George. Like some of the teams, in fact, we've already seen TJB move up. Vampire Esports might want to head up there. So will 52 just in the South George bridge right now. So Morph could get a lot of points just from this singular position.
I'm looking at USG as well, right? You talked about earlier in the game. It's great they've managed to get Rozhok. They've managed to lay claim to that area. But if they don't leave there early enough, it could prove to be their tomb, their mausoleum, right? If they aren't able to get across early enough, if it's a northern shift, they could really be scuppered.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can take every one of these teams and just imagine that they're elastic bands. And USG is that first elastic band. And you know when you create that elastic band ball, at some point it is going to break and explode. And poor USG is right in the middle. They are going to
just get bigger elastic bands. I don't.
You could do. I'm working with very small elastic bands here.
They certainly have had that opportunity, probably more so than most of these other teams. Morph had to move a lot at the start. I mean, Liquid Galaxy might have had that opportunity, but unfortunately they lost 2 players early.
Ooh.
4 rivals jetting down from the north side.
You absolutely would as well. I mean, this is a great time for them. You know, you get such an awful playing path. You head up all the way to Severny, and the circle just continues to move north and north and north. And now at this point in time, they were being quite passive, but with this shift, they are absolutely sending it down into the circle, trying to take a position as fast as they can in one of the compounds. But it's TJB that's rocking up on 4 rivals who've just come to this position.
𝗏𝗏𝗏 leading the charge, getting first opening and doing it brilliantly. Living up to the name. First elimination for the TJB squad now. 4 rivals in the corner, backed up to the back building here. The height advantage in favor of TJB. Morph over the ridgeline as well. Watch out for that scout. Watch out for the third party if this fight goes on too long. The off angle is there for 4 rivals. You can see that in the minimap on the top right. They have got those sightlines to control, but Lin's moving forwards as well, putting pressure on 4 rivals, forcing them out of this compound, of this cover. They want to try and catch them. They don't quite have the off angles, not just yet, but with that nade, Jumper taken low. 4 rivals behind the vehicle. Lin out first. 𝗏𝗏𝗏, soon to follow. Looking to go out wide. Will they spot the player? They should have caught sight of that one, and those bullets will certainly give the game away. The gunshots ring out, but not finding the knock. Jumper now in more danger. Swings around the corner. Lin sprays, but the Scar doesn't quite land it. Half HP, and it's spotted. There is the off angle. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 finds what TJB are looking for. 2 players from 4 rivals are down.
Really incredible stuff, and yeah, I'm loving to see the new Scar love coming through, the most recent buffs for the guns coming into the game. You know, Scar being almost as good as the M4 now, if not better, depending in the hands. So really, really nice to see a little bit more variation in terms of that weaponry. already. Another little knock coming through for Team Seoul. But yeah, great stuff from TJB. Considering they were all the way over towards Hospital South George, that was one hell of a send that they made happen over towards this compound, which is now extremely central in this circle.
TJB firing for Enigma Galaxy, the first team to go down fully blank. They lost 2 players very early.
Yeah.
You kind of think, fair enough, go again.
It's a bit of a struggle, though, for Enigma Galaxy. It's not kind of the precedent you want to be setting as that team when everyone knows you as the survivalist. You are the Bear Grylls of the lobby, and it's just not working out for them here. Scry from Stalwart taking some shots over towards Wildcats. Already Ray going down. Defoe off in the distance, takes some pot shots back, but now it's the Wildcats having to regroup here and trying to make something work.
A moment, Wildcats heavily under fire for Stalwart on the south side of them, but there's a traffic jam to get further into the zone as the next circle pops heavily south as well. So it will be on their shoreline, but they have a lot of treacherous ground ahead of them.
Action eliminating Ray here.
Of course, if you guys want to earn points, you can complete daily mission. Once enough points are accumulated, you can tap on the rewards icon in the game to claim the corresponding reward. That's if you're watching enough of this PMWI.
You can participate in the event solo or team up with other players. That's absolutely fine. And you know what? Just like the players in the PMWI, teaming up could get you that reward just a little bit easier.
There's Vampire. You can see, you were talking about them earlier. They're swimming in the river right now. I always think that these river finishes in the middle section near that Roshok crossing is one of the most brutal places that these circles can finish.
I mean, all these teams on the northern side are going to be dragged across sandpaper, basically, trying to get into this circle. It's so unfortunate because you assume it's going north here. TJB got such a nice position, and it swings back down south. Now, I want to see USG, the Japanese team, translate this because they've been given such a good opportunity here for a chicken dinner right at the beginning of the day.
Highton looking to guard them out. Currently on the eastern side of the circle, will stop that rotation north, stop that progression west. Make things difficult. Down one, ahead. You can see they're taking a couple of knocks from back to back. I think this is the circle where most of this impact to the 18-team lobby will be felt, although we are down to 62 players.
17 teams still. I did not expect this at this point in the game. Already 17 minutes in. It's absolutely nutty here. 52 esports do knock themselves, though. That is extremely unfortunate. They're coming from that western side. But Stalwart, we mentioned them. They were taking a fight versus the Wildcats, and this is where they need to play the edge game perfectly. They've been thrown a little bit of a lifeline here on the southern edge. See if they can make anything happen with it.
Stalwart taking shots. Really fast and strong rotation, I'd say, but Lightning does get caught there, unfortunately, for the spray down. And they are going to lose him at the wall, up the top, back-to-back, have their Polo. Representative for the squad. As the nades start to ring out. They're not going full aggression just yet, Blank.
Now, if you want to get yourself the 2022 PMWI Gunskin and outfit, you know, we have a sale period going on through from the 4th of August through to the 13th of August. We have 50% off PMWI packs, and you get a set straight away in that time frame and 5 extra chances to draw the PMWI treasure chest.
And if you miss out on that first sale period, there is a second one from the 14th of September all the way up till the 15th of the next month, where you get 16% off PMWI packs. You get 6 chances to draw PMWI treasure chests.
Looking straight back at the game here, back-to-back have actually made it quite far from there. It was quite a difficult drop spot for them on that southern edge on the coast. Wildcats still in this one with 3 players. Surprisingly, you know, they took an absolute beating from Stalwart on that southeastern edge, but the circle is starting to close in right now. Directly on top of Rozhok. Oh, USG, yes please.
They're very happy about that, you're right. We talked about how it might be their mausoleum, but instead it's going to be their pedestal.
ये आपकी है मॉफ, ठीक है।
On top of Rozok. Oh, USG, yes, please.
They're very happy about that, you're right. We talked about how it might be their mausoleum, but instead it's going to be their pedestal.
एकदमै क्रिटिकल सिचुएसनमा छन्। यताबाट त कभर मिल्ला उनलाई, तर पछाडिबाट आउने शॉट्सहरुबाट उनी कसरी बच्छन् त मेबी त्यो एउटा डिसएडभान्टेज।
यहाँ आईडब्ल्यूडी पुश गर्ने कि नगर्ने, आईडब्ल्यू भन्ने आईडब्ल्यूडी भन्ने, आई थिंक म थोरै कन्फ्युज भइरहेको छु त्यहाँ। एनीवे मर्फको टिमको कुरा गर्दै थिएँ म प्लेसमेन्टको बारेमा। थाहा थियो हामीलाई यो अप्ठ्यारो प्लेसमेन्ट छ भनेर। सोल भर्सेस स्टलबर्टको भनौँ न सोशल मिडिया राइभलरी बनेको थियो। यहाँ अब इन गेम फाइट पनि होला जस्तो छ। एक्सन हातमा नेड लिएर घुमिरहेका छन्। एक नक निकाल्छन् कि राइट डिरेक्सनमा फालेका छन् उनले नेड। ओके थोरै चिप ड्यामेज मात्र डिल गरे उनले। एक यहाँ नक भएको देख्न सकिन्छ VGS को टिमको साइडबाट। टप थोरै अगाडि छन्, उनको लागि अझै बेटर एंगल देखिरहेको छ फ्र्याङ्कली भने। यहाँकै राम्रो कम्बिनेसन हेर, मतलब ढोका फुटालियो र यो नेड गयो भने सही हुने थियो, बट ढोका फुटालिएन। ढोका पहिला फुटेको भए गनको साथमा, देन इजी नक चाहिँ हुन सक्थ्यो। सोल भर्सेस स्टलबर्ट। एक त्यहाँ जोनले गर्दा फर्स्ट दिएछन्। टपको एंगल राम्रो छ भन्दै थिए। गब्लिनलाई पनि नक निकालेको छ। अब त पुश गर्नको लागि गएको थियो टिम, बट टपलाई चाहिँ स्टारले नक निकाले, स्टारले फिनिश गरियो। एक्सन आउँछन् मेरो साथी मेरो भाइलाई फिनिश गर्ने भन्दै उनी रिभेन्ज लि पनि सके। स्टलबर्टले टप लुज गरे पनि 2 एलिमिनेसन 3 एलिमिनेसन पोइन्ट चाहिँ एउटा इन्जोय गर्नेछ। बट टिपिकल रोजाक सर्कल डेड आई गाइज मिस हुँदैछ। एटलिस्ट हाम्रो साइडबाट चाहिँ स्टलबर्ट 3 पोइन्ट आफ्नो नाममा निकालेको छ। उनीहरूको 1v1 अथवा 2v2 टिडिएम त भएन, बट कहीँ न कहीँ इन गेम फाइट हुँदैछ जहाँ स्टलबर्ट अलिकता हेभी देखिँदैछ भने ओमेगा केही गरिकन केही पोइन्ट आउँछ कि भन्ने आशमा कुना काप्चातिर छ।
ओमेगा अब भने त बच्नु पर्यो, आफ्नो टिमलाई सर्भाइभल पोइन्ट्स दिनुपर्ने हुन्छ उनको तर्फबाट। यदि उनी बच्न सक्छन् भने तर पनि मलाई लाग्दैन उनी धेरै बेर बच्छन् कि भनेर। भ्याम्पायरका प्लेयर्सहरू हामी यहाँ पानीमा रहेका प्लेयर्सहरूलाई वाइप गरिराखेको देखिएको छ। भ्याम्पायरका बाँकी दुईजनालाई पनि ल्यान्ड एरिया टच गर्नुपर्ने त्यसै पनि यहाँ कन्डिसन रहेको थियो। टप 13 मा गेम कन्भर्ट भइसक्यो। 35 प्लेयर अझै पनि लबीमा छन्। स्टार्टिङबाट नै हामीले एग्रेसन अथवा क्लासेसहरू देखिएको कारणले गर्दाखेरि ओके यो म्याच चाहिँ छिटै सकिएको हो कि जस्तो पनि लाग्ने यहाँ देखिएको छ। 4 राइभल्सका लास्ट प्लेयर जो छन् उनी थोरै जोनको एरिया उनलाई चाहिएको छ, त्यो कारणले गर्दाखेरि मुभ गर्ने डिसिजन उनी लिँदै थिए। तर उनको पार्टनर पनि त्यहाँ नक भएको कन्डिसनमा रहेका थिए, बचाउने त चान्सेस नै रहेको थिएन पनि, उनलाई फिनिस पनि गरिसकिएको छ। टिजेबीका प्लेयर पनि यहाँ जोनको ड्यामेज डिल गर्दै हामी यहाँबाट मुभ गर्दै गरेको देखिँदै थियो, तर उनलाई पनि अब पनि जाम निकालियो।
टिजेबी भनेर चाइनिज टिम नभन्नु होला, युरोपको टिम रहेको छ। आई थिङ्क वेस्टर्न युरोपको PMPL चाहिँ उनीहरू खेल्ने गर्छ। मैले थोरै बताएको थिएँ, बट वान्स अगेन फर्दर मोर इन्फर्मेसन दिएँ। RSG चाहिँ यस चाइनिज नै टिम हो जुन तपाईँको PEL मा चाहिँ देखिने गर्छ। RSG का प्लेयर पनि जोनले गर्दा यहाँ फिनिश भइरहेको देखिरहेको छ। सर्कल त अझै पनि छ रोजकमा नै। USG को टिम राम्रो एंगल बनाएर बसेका थिए, बट पिक गर्ने चक्करमा म्याक्सिमम ड्यामेज फेस गरेपछि उनी हिल गर्नतिर लागेको छन्। एन्ड मिसाइल चाहिँ गाडी रेडी गर्दैछन्। RSG लबीबाट बाहिर निक्लियो। टप 10 मा गेम कन्भर्ट भइसकेको छ। आई थिङ्क सोलको जुन लास्ट प्लेयर बचेका थिए ओमेगा, उनी अझै पनि जोनमा रहेका छन्। भ्याम्पायर पुरा एजसम्म मात्र खेलेको छ। 8 एलिमिनेसन पोइन्ट्स यो टिमले अलरेडी आफ्नो नाममा गर्यो। 6औं सर्कल आइसक्यो हाम्रो 22 मिनटको गेम प्ले, 22.5 मिनटको गेम प्लेमा। USG पनि अगाडिपट्टिको एरिया होल्ड गर्नको लागि पाउनको लागि मुभ गर्दै त छ, बट USG त्यति खासै प्रब्लममा छ जस्तो मलाई लागेको थिएन। बट प्रब्लममा स्टलबर्ट आयो, किन भन्दा टप फिनिस भइसक्यो। एक्सन अहिले नक हुँदैछन्।
दुईटा गन पावर प्लेयर भने चाहिँ स्टार्टिङ त नभनौँ फाइटको चाहिँ यो जुन जबरजस्तीवाला फाइट छ भनौँ एग्रेसन छ, त्यतिखेर चाहिँ रिजल्टै ननिकालिकन प्लेयर चाहिँ डाउन हुनुपर्ने कन्डिसन बनिराखेको छ। यहाँबाट देख्न सक्छौँ प्लेयर्सहरूको एन्ट्री चाहिरहेको थियो, उनीहरूलाई कम्पाउन्ड स्पेस खाली गर्नुपर्नेछ। त्यो एउटा डिसएडभान्टेज लोवर ग्राउन्ड उनीहरूलाई बनिरहेको थियो। पनि भ्याम्पायरका प्लेयर्सहरू थ्रोएबलले होल्ड गराउन चाहन्छन् त्यो टिमलाई। त्यो थ्रोएबलले पनि केही हदसम्म ड्यामेज डिल इम्प्याक्टमा भन्नुपर्दाखेरि नकै निकाल्न सफल रहेका थिए। हुन त त्यो एरियामा रहेको टिमलाई नै यहाँबाट चाहिँ एलिमिनेट गरेर देखाइदिइसकेका छन् भ्याम्पायर। फर्दर मोर एलिमिनेसन पोइन्ट उनीहरूले एड गरिराखेको हामीले देख्न सक्छौँ। USG का प्लेयर्सहरूलाई पनि हामी यहाँ देख्न सक्छौँ। नम्बर रोकिएको छ, उनीहरूले सर्कलको इज पनि बनाउने कोसिस गर्दै थिए भने स्टालबर्टको एक्सनलाई त बचाइएको थियो, तर स्क्रीलाई भने चाहिँ अब फिनिस गरियो।
ओके स्टलबर्टको टिम थोरै गर्दै ट्रबलमा आउँदैछ। मिनी म्याप पनि माथि कर्नरमा देख्न सकिन्छ जहाँ स्टलबर्टसँग जोन त रहेछ, बट लेटर फेजमा आई थिङ्क जोन छ उनीहरूसँग। येल्लो कलरमा उनीहरू भए चाहिँ मान्थेँ मैले, किन भन्दा अलिकता कम देखिरहेको छु मैले। मेरो आँखाले भन्दा पनि क्वालिटी अलिकता कम फिल भइरहेको छ एटलिस्ट मलाई चाहिँ। टप 7 मा गेम कन्भर्ट भइसक्यो। 19 प्लेयर रहेको छन्। अर्बन एरियामा सर्कल बनेपछि लट्स अफ द पुश हामी एक्सपेक्ट गर्न सक्थ्यौँ। ओमेगाले एक नक निकालेको थिए बट उनको पनि एचपी ठिकठाक नै रहेछ। मैले सोचेँ कि ड्यामेज फेस गरेको छन् हुने बट नो, वालको साइडमा कभर बनाएर उनी अहिलेको लागि जीवित नै रहेको छन्। टप 7 मा सोल छिर्न त सफल रहेको थियो बट एउटा युटिलिटी आश गरिरहेको छु। ड्यामेज दिने युटिलिटी रहन्छ बक्सको प्लेयर जुन हाम्रो फ्रेममा छन् उनीसँग। ओमेगा अगाडि मुभ गर्दैछन्, उनीसँग पनि युटिलिटी छैन। सो द्याट्स वाइ कसरी हुन्छ बच्ने उनको सोच रहनेछ। टप 6 मा छिरेको छन् उनी, थाहा छ उनी बाहिर निस्किन उनी फिनिस हुन सक्छन्। टप 6 हैन, अब त उनी टप 5 पनि पुगिसकेको छन्। बक्सको टिमको 4 जना प्लेयर मिलेर एकजनालाई खोज्दै थिए बट धेरै अगाडि आयो ब्रेक एन्ड उनलाई पनिश गरिएको छ। नक निकालियो, रिभाइभ गर्नको लागि त मुस्किल देख्छु म, किन भन्दा त्योसम्म रिक्स लिएर कोही आउँछ जस्तो मलाई लाग्दैन। स्टलबर्टको टिमको कुरा गर्दै थियौँ हामी, सायद उनीहरूले नै सोललाई फिनिस गर्न सक्छ किन भन्दा वालमा बसेको प्लेयर त्यताबाट भिजिबल रहन पाए बट नो, अझै पनि भिजिबल त उनी छैनन्। जोन स्टलबर्टसँग नै रहेको छ। 2 म्यान भए पनि म आश गरिरहेको छु कि उनीहरू अझै माथि जान्छ एटलिस्ट र्याङ्क
वाइज उनीहरूले सही निकाल्न पनि सक्छन् जस्तो देखिएको छ। भनौँ न यतातिर दुईटा टिमको बिचमा क्लास बनिरहेको छ, नम्बर काउन्ट गर्दैछ। भ्याम्पायरका प्लेयर्सहरू ब्याक टु ब्याक राम्रो पोइन्ट्स निकालि त राखेका थिए, यहाँ भने चाहिँ थोरै भल्नरेबल बन्न पुगे। एकजना प्लेयर उनीहरूको डाउन छन्, उनीहरूको अगेन्स्टमा रहेको टिमको पनि कन्डिसन त थोरै क्रिटिकल नै रहेको थियो। पनि स्टालवर्टका प्लेयर पिकाले चाहिँ स्पट गरे, ओमेगालाई लबी बाह्र चाहिँ भने बाहिर निकाल्यो। टप 5 को एन्ट्री देखाउन सफल रहेको थियो टिम सोल। युएसजीका प्लेयर अब भने उनी चाहन्छन् त्यो स्पटलाई होल्ड गर्नलाई, उनले पार्टनर रिभाइभ गर्ने चान्स पनि मौका पनि भने चाहिँ उनलाई बनाउन दिएको छैन। ब्याक टु ब्याक ट्रेबलको प्रेसर केही कन्सर्ट्सहरू पनि त्यहाँ गइराखेको थियो भने अब यो प्यानिक सिचुएसनमा उनले क्लच गरेर देखाउने चान्सेस एकदमै कम छ। एन्ड मैले त्यहाँ किल 19 देख्दै थिएँ भ्याम्पायरको टिमको। कति चाहिँ एड गर्ने यो टिम, कति चाहन्छ किल? 19 एलिमिनेसन पोइन्ट।
मैले अलरेडी नै भनेको थिएँ नि, लबी यस्तो भएपछि हामीले 20-25 किल एलिमिनेसन चाहिँ नर्मल्ली देख्नेवाला छौँ भनेर। त्यो सायद आज राइट पनि प्रुभ हुँदैछ। पहिलो म्याचमा नै नर्मल कुरा रहेको थियो बट यहाँ नेड युज गरिदिन्छ बक्सको एगेन्स्टमा, के ड्यामेज दिन्छ कहीँ? ओ ब्रेक बचेको छ नि, यहाँबाट त नक भएन बट आर्कको युटिलिटी फेरि एक्सनले फालेको छ नि। यहाँ एक नक त म आश गरेको छु मिनिमम पनि। यस ब्रेक दोस्रो चोटि नक भएको छ, एकदमै खराब टाइममा नक भयो भने बट आर्कको एउटा युटिलिटी पनि मैले युज भएको देखेँ बट त्यो वेस्ट मात्रै हुन गयो। बक्सको टिम ओपनमा पुश गर्न बाध्य भएको छ। PMWL आई थिङ्क पब्जी मोबाइल वर्ल्ड लिगको जुन सर्कल थियो त्यो हामी देख्न पाउँदैछौँ। मेबी ओरेन्ज रकले म्याच जितेको खाले सर्कल किन आइकोनिक भन्दै चाहिँ
On top of Rozok. Oh, USG, yes please.
They're very happy about that, you're right. We talked about how it might be their mausoleum.
उनी फिनिस भइसकेपछि स्टलबर्टले पहिलो म्याच पनि टप 3 मा आफूलाई ल्याइसकेको छ। टप 3 मात्रै हैन, अझै माथि जान सक्छ कि भनेको बट उनी स्पटेड रहे, फिनिस गरिएको छ। टप 3 नै उनीहरूको फाइनल डेस्टिनेसन। मैले 22 फिनिस भ्याम्पायरले अलरेडी
ओके ह्युज पोइन्ट्स यहाँ निकालिसकेको छ भ्याम्पायरको टिमको तर्फबाट। उनीहरूको अगेन्स्टमा रहेको बक्सको जम्मा 2 एलिमिनेसन पोइन्ट यहाँ देखिएको छ। लास्ट बेलामा स्पट गरिनेवाला चाहिँ इजी टेक डाउन त्यहाँबाट निकालियो एन्ड भ्याम्पायर स्पोर्ट्स त्यहाँ निकाल्दैछ एउटा सही गेम। वाट अ पर्फर्मेन्स। अब डोमिनेसन कसरी निकाल्यो भन्ने कि उनीहरूलाई एडभान्टेज थियो भन्ने कि भनौँ न हरेक कुराबाट अन पेपर अन